Hi, I'm Jeremy Thake, and I'm going to show you how to use the Microsoft Graph Postman collections to call the Microsoft Graph. So the first thing you need to do is go to portal.azure.com. So if I go over to the portal here, I need to be signed in whatever developer tenant I'm using for today, and go to Azure Active Directory. And inside of Azure Active Directory, you want to go into app registrations and create a new registration. We're going to call this Postman. And we're going to use single tenant because I'm only going to use this with this particular tenant. And I'll need a redirect URI. So the easiest way to get that is to hop on over into my collection and open this up to one of the requests I'm going to use. Hit the authorization tab and then go into it here. And you'll see that this is the setting for the callback URI that we're using with Postman. So if I paste that in there and just click register, and this will be in the steps in the README as well, I now have an application. Now, all I need to do is grab this configuration and put it into my settings. And you'll notice in Postman now, they've done some additional things to allow you to have tokens directly inside of this configurations that will come with the collection out of the box. So I just need to go and populate them because right now they're empty. So to do that, what I need to do is just close this window. And up the top here, I have like an empty placeholder here with client ID, client secret, and tenant ID. And I just need to go and edit those. So I'm just going to go get my client ID, just copy and paste that in. Make sure you put it in the current value, not the initial value. Go into tenant ID and paste that in. And then if I go down and create a client secret, I'm just going to be very quick here and grab that secret and paste that in too, and click update. Now, when I go back into these settings, you'll now see that in actual fact, when I hover over, those settings are pulling through. And so now I can go get myself a new delegated token. And when I click here, this is going to pop me up a sign-in screen. So if you're using an account that has two-factor auth, the Postman collections will work quite nicely here too. So I'm just going to put in my username and password here and click sign in. And this is really important. This is going to give your applications permissions to use it. If I click accept here, that will now go get me a token and it will say it's complete, and I'll click proceed. And you'll see here that now it's given me this token back. And it'll even show you what permission scopes are inside that token. The really important thing here is click use token. When you click use token here, it'll actually show you that the token is in use here, and that's actually a quicker way of grabbing that token through. And I just click update. Now, if I try and get my messages logged as I signed in of that user, what you'll actually see here is I'm going to get access denied, and it's because my token didn't have the right permissions to run me/messages. So when you're doing this with Postman, what you'll need to do is come back into your application here and go and add those permissions you require. Now, over time, if you use this collection, you're going to end up with lots and lots of permissions that you're going to be asking for. So if I go mail.read here and click add permission, what I'll need to do is the quickest way to grant this for my Postman collection is to click grant admin and yes. And now when I come back here, this won't work straight away. It'll still say access denied because I need to go get the token again. So if I go back into my authorization on behalf of, and I scroll down here and go get new token, it actually caches the fact I've signed in, and it'll give me a new token, and I need to click use token. And I can grab that now and click update. And then when I click send here, you'll actually see now that that comes back correctly. Now, the reason I grab the token is sometimes you might want to troubleshoot it. And the best way to do that is go JWT-MS, paste that token in. And what you'll see if you scroll down to the bottom for delegated tokens, you'll actually see that it's mail.read is part of that token. That's why it works. And you'll also see which user I was using to sign into that account. Now, the same flow can be done for not just on behalf of flows with delegated tokens, but also with application tokens. So say, for instance, I wanted to get all the users in my tenant using just the v1 endpoint and users. Obviously, the first time I run this, it should fail. But if I go here and have a look, it's because it's already called that through. So what I would need to do if I hadn't had that token before, I would come in here and go get new token and proceed, and that would have, and then you go use that token. And if I grab this one just for later too, when I run that, that will actually work. Well, it will be using the correct token for the application flow, but I need to go add those permissions. So if I troubleshooted why that didn't work, you'll see that in my scopes, there aren't any scopes in here. And so I need to go back to my application, because these are delegated permission scopes, and add an application permission, not a delegated permission. And so in this case, when I go to user.readAll and click add, and then I need to grant those permissions, so that will change to granted. I will have to remember to come back in here and say get a new token. And again, it's just using the client secret to do that one. And I click use token, I can grab that and update it and run this. And now this will return me the users. And if I did want to just check that token this time round, you will see that now the roles come back for this particular application token with user.readAll, because we added an application permission here in the app registration. So when you're running these things, you do need to make sure that you're using the correct tokens. So in any of the requests underneath the application folder, it's always going to inherit these settings for the application token. And you'll want to make sure that you get the new access token. And anything inside of the on behalf of is using the settings for the on behalf of user settings, where it's called a delegated token. And you'll see the only difference really is that one says authorization code and one is using client credentials, and the settings are a little bit different. Now, one thing you will want to do is maybe sign in as someone else. And so the way you stop it from caching the sign in on this get new token, because it will just do it invisibly for you and use it, is you need to come through to this thing on the right hand side with cookies. And you'll see that there's a bunch of cookies that are created for login.microsoftonline.com and microsoftonline.com. If you delete those cookies and go back into the on behalf of flow again, when you click get new access token now, it will force you to go through the login screen again. So I'm going to use the same user here, but for my demo, but it allows you to come in here and you could sign in as someone else. And then when you've done that, you use that token. And then you update it, and then you can run that again and be away to the races. Now, the nice thing about that is if you come into here and go manage tokens, you could be naming these differently. So I could be like, this is, Jeremy's token, this is Megan's token. The lifespan of these is pretty short. So you might just want to get used to kind of clicking the get new access token in here as you go through this. Essentially, there's two types. There's the delegated on behalf of the user tokens and then the application tokens. So to get this running, you just have to have the collection running in your Postman environment and have those settings configured through. And then you can just start exploring all the things that are available. And remember, as you do these things, obviously for things like v1, me, drive, root, children, you're going to have to have the correct permissions, because it's inheriting from this on behalf of user token here. But if I run this right now, that's going to give you back permission denied, or in this case, it will give you an empty collection. So what I would need to do in that instance would go over into my permissions, because it's delegated. I need to add the delegated ones, and I would need to add files.read. And again, come in here and grant those permissions. And then remember, when you do that, you do have to go get that token again and click use token. And then when I run that, it might be because I don't have any files in my thing too. Let's just check, and I'll show you just for sure that that's in the token. So you will kind of find this quite useful here. But you'll see here that in the scopes, files.read is there. And so that must mean, because I'm running it as the Jeremy at Thakey Online, that I don't have any files in my OneDrive. That's why I'm not getting any particular files back. So that's just a great way of navigating around Postman now. It's a lot easier than the collections were before. And just remember, when you're adding permissions into this screen, that you do have to remember to come in here and get that token again, get that refreshed. So if you have any feedback around these collections, or you'd like to contribute, you can go to the GitHub location and you can make those modifications and submit them as PRs. And there is documentation on how to do that. This was just a video just to show how to set that up. So thanks very much for your time today, and enjoy using the Microsoft Graph.